Former NBA player Sebastian Telfair is recounting his prison stint alongside Sean Diddy Combs. Telfair was just released after serving time for a probation violation related to a healthcare fraud conviction. He told TMZ, quote, "I couldn't imagine how Diddy felt, but Diddy's holding it down. He's doing what he's got to do. Diddy was living a rock star life, so I'm glad he's going to get the time to just relax. Diddy's in good spirits. He's still Diddy." Combs is serving out a sentence of a little more than 4 years on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. But his defense team is now working to get him released. So let's bring in Mercedes Colwin, criminal defense attorney. Mercedes, really good to see you. It's been a while. As part of the argument that Diddy's attorneys are making, they are saying, quote, and we'll put this up, defendants typically get sentenced to less than 15 months for these offenses. Even when coercion, which the jury didn't find here, is involved, he sits in prison today serving a 50-month sentence because the district judge acted as a 13th juror. Where do you think this goes?
Alicia, always great to be on with you. Let's be very frank about this case. You can't unsee what you saw, you can't unhear what you heard, and you can't unremember what you read. And it's clear that that judge took certain things in consideration that were part of the evidence, and it is permitted under the Mann Act. That is the psychological harm that took place on these victims. We're talking about Cassie Ventura and the other victim who actually testified as Jane. And those two recounted the horrors of what they went through under this type of influence, this type of sexual exploitation. So it's going to be a real stretch. And do I applaud the defense's attorney? But by the way, these are great defense attorneys. They're gifted. It's clear that they've got a great bench. And they're trying all they can to try to overturn those 50 months. But it's going to be a very hard process for them to get to that. Because under the Mann Act, the judge can take into consideration the harm that was inflicted upon those victims. And so, therefore, they might be arguing, and not only are they arguing that there was this departure from what should have been imposed on Sean Combs, they're also arguing, which is a real stretch, that these freak-offs and these hotel sexual encounters were really amateur pornography that were done, and this is during the consenting adults. It was consensual. So they're not only making this argument that there was this departure by the judge and should have been into consideration. The second part is the fact that there's also a First Amendment violation because really this is really a freedom of expression. These individuals were consenting. But at the core issue is whether these women actually consented to that. And the prosecution that will be arguing against this appeal, they'll say Sean Combs used his fame, his fortune, and his wealth to sexually exploit these women and transfer them from state to state. That's the evidence that came in. That's the evidence that compelled that jury to convict Sean Combs. It's going to be a real stretch to get to overturn that sentencing, especially when you look at the guidelines on itself under the Mann Act. It's between 70 and 80 months. The judge gave 50 months here. So this type of these arguments, frankly, if I looked at my crystal ball, it's going to fail.
You know, Mercedes, and as I was reading this, first of all, let's start with the First Amendment argument here, because to me, just as a layperson, sounded like some stretch. Because we recorded it and it became entertainment, right. That is now a First Amendment situation that they're dealing with. I mean, from a legal standpoint, what do you think?
That's such a great question, Alicia, because that's really at the core of it. That would mean that anybody taking their phones, if they're literally capturing a crime taking place between a victim and an abuser, you're saying that that's somehow amateur photography and that should be permitted under the First Amendment? No, I mean, the arguments are a stretch. I applaud them for trying to do so. It's obvious that they're trying to get this at all odds to try to get this overturned. But at the end of the day, you have a jury that said that what took place between Cassie Ventura, Jane, and Sean Combs and all of the other enablers, the participants in these freak-offs, these hotel stays, this sexual exploitation, was sexual exploitation and it was non-consensual. So the fact that you have non-consensual acts that are being memorialized doesn't make it suddenly be First Amendment and therefore should be protected activity. It's a stretch. And frankly, it will, and in my humble opinion, will likely fail.
Okay, and I also thought it was interesting that his attorneys are also going after the Mann Act itself, an attempt to kind of weaken this law. What should we be considering when we look at that?
Well, it's interesting because the Mann Act is you rarely hear about it, read about it. Rarely those are the charges, but the prosecution, the prosecutors really took into consideration all of the acts that could fall into lesser included crimes. They were obviously looking for the really big crimes, sex trafficking being one of the highest crimes that they were trying to seek a conviction on. That failed. So these lesser included crimes are ones that had to be considered. Those are the ones that the jury obviously felt was enough evidence to convict Sean Combs on. And yes, they're trying to attack but it's on the books. This law is still good law. It has not been overturned. It is not deemed unconstitutional. Those laws are permitted to be used and charged against individuals who the prosecutors in their discretion really do feel that a crime has taken place. So it's on the books. You can't say it's unconstitutional. The argument, if his defense team really feels that there's a problem with the Mann Act, you can certainly lobby against that act and have it rendered unconstitutional. But it's historically sound, it's constitutional, nothing's been overturned, it's still good law on the books, and prosecutors can use it under their discretion.
Yeah, and notable that the Bureau of Prisons has said with good behavior, Diddy could get out in about 2.5 years. Mercedes Colwin, so good to see you. Thank you.
Exactly.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.